Hello and welcome to Tobysblogs. Today I'm going to be looking at Northern Lights and the Golden Compass. Okay, so this will be like the only time you'll ever get a book review from me because I don't read books, and only because I was forced to read this book for university that I have actually decided to review it for you, because I do a review, written one, for my course, so I thought I might as well look at the book. And I've had a bit. Okay, so looking at Northern Lights, the book, which is actually the Golden Compass on DVD. Okay, so I was reading this book, and anyone who's been talking to me recently would know that I hate this book, and that I hated reading it, and I just couldn't get through it. After reading... Well, purely because Pullman, who wrote this book, basically told the story. He spent 157 pages describing the background and the plot, the background of Lyra, who's the main character, and about Egyptians and about demons and that kind of thing, and all the adventure is in the second part of the book. So I kind of thought it was boring, all this first part, talking about Jordan College and all these other bits, about Lara hiding away, this concept of dust, that kind of thing, which actually makes a lot more sense when you watch the DVD, because you can see it, and you can visualise it a bit better than you would when you're imagining it when you're reading this book. Yeah, and we get this concept of this, the Golden Compass. I call it the Golden Compass because it's called the lithometer or something like that. I don't want to call it that. And she gets this lithometer to tell us the truth, and then she gets captured. No, she goes away from the college with Miss Coulter, who is actually. First of all, there's these gobblers who go around stealing children. It's kind of like the child catcher, but these gobblers go around stealing children. Now, we don't know what's going on with them until we get to the end of the book, but they're stealing children, and then Lara's kind of trying to find out why these children are going and what's this stuff about dust. And then Miss Coulter kind of takes her away to educate her, really, and then Lara finds out that Miss Coulter is linked in with all these gobblers and these child snatchers and things, so she runs away, and then Lara runs away, and she gets captured by these two people who are after her, and then the Egyptian children come in and fire arrows at them and they die. Very violent. And she goes along with the Egyptians, and then she meets John Fee, whatever his name is, and then she meets the Egyptians, and they'll travel to the north, where she meets this polar bear, finds his armour, they go all off to the north, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and Lord Asriel, and then she finds out Lord Asriel's her father, and that Miss Coulter is her mother, and they find out what they're doing with the children, which is actually taking away their demons. Now, I haven't really explained what demons are. Every person in the story has a demon, and their demon is like their soul. It's kind of like their companion that sits on their shoulder or is with them all the time. It's like they're separate consciousness, and they're with them all the time, and they're linked to their demon, and they talk to their demon, and it's like they feel their demon's pain. And Miss Coulter's got this demon who's like a golden monkey, and he can walk around whatever, and he steals people's demons. So by doing that, he takes away their demon or something like that. I don't know. And then they go off to the north, and they find out that Miss Coulter's been stealing these children. They've got this special machine that separates their demons from the humans, which makes them extremely sick because they no longer have their demon. It's because dust infects children through the demons. They cut away the demon, so there's no threat of this dust problem. But the thing is, they do this horrible thing by cutting away their soul, which is quite nasty and horrible and sick, really. So yeah, the book, it's got a lot of interesting themes. Definitely, as I was writing this review, it's definitely not for children, little children, because it's got such dark themes like experimentation. It's like the Nazis experimenting on people, or Stalin experimenting, doing psychological things and things. It's like experimentation, which is really sick, on humans, which is that's got a dark theme, people getting killed. In the film, one of the bear lops the other bear's jaw off. I thought it was quite nasty. Like, he just went up and he just cut the whole of the bottom jaw off and went flying over there, and then he started eating the bear. It's like, ooh, gruesome. And well, yes, it's got kind of gruesome-y themes in it. It's not really for children. Also, it uses such horrible language. He like uses language that is so old and ancient that no one can ever understand it. I just underlined every single word in this book that I do not understand, like grandeur or permine, or it's like he uses ancient words. Like, why would he use that? It's like, for children, we're not going to understand this book, but a lot of them do. So it's complicated. Yeah, so it's quite interesting when you get to part 2. You kind of get into the realm of ice bears and witches and things, and then we get to battles and dark bits. Yeah, so just looking at the story and just looking at the film, and the two things are different, even though the author of this says that, oh, it's very similar to this. Well, in one thing it is, but I think the writer of the film did a very good job, and I'd rather watch the film than read the book, because look, the whole of this part, if we look at there, the whole of that was covered in about 30 minutes or less in the film. It took me several days to read this, and it's covered in like 30 minutes of the film, which is really irritating. Yeah, but things in this book are different to in the film. For instance, in the book, there's this thing called the cocktail party, and Lara finds out that Miss Coulter is actually with this obligation board, which is one that stands for GOB, stands for Gobblers, and she escapes. In the film, Miss Coulter discovers Lara with the alethiometer, the golden compass, and then she escapes out a window, which is different from the book. So it's like, what parts are in? Because I've only read half this book. I've only read up to I'm in the second half, and I've written my review, so I had to rely on the DVD. So I'm not sure what's in the DVD is actually in the book. So it's the events in the film are twisted kind of to make a good story. Like there's all the stuff about parallel worlds. I'm sure I didn't read that in the book, so I'm not sure whether that's incorporated in the DVD just to make a good story. So I didn't include that in my review, because that would have been quite more interesting to talk about the parallel worlds, but I couldn't, because I didn't know that that's true in the novel. The book review has to be on the novel, not the film. And it's got really dark stories and themes in it, and also when when someone dies, their demon dies too, which I kind of feel really horrible, because like you've got this companion who's your friend and you love your friend, and when you die, your friend dies with you, and it's like, it'd be much more nicer if like you died, your body lay dead and your demon lay next to you dead. But no, your demon just poof goes into thin air, and it's just terrible. You know, we watch the film, all this dust kind of sparks off when someone dies. It's like, oh no! It's like, it's so cruel. It's like, because your demon didn't do any harm, and like you just killed it because of the owner. It's like you've got a pet, and if your owner dies, your pet dies. It's like, yes. So that's Northern Lights and the Golden Compass. I would feel that the book is different to the film. Also, yeah, there is different things, like in the film, Lara finds out events in different ways. For instance, she finds out that Miss Coulter's her mother at the kind of the end of the film, and Lord Asriel is her father at the end of the film. Well, in the book, she finds out that when she's in the meeting with the Egyptians, not Egyptians, and also there's this speech in there where John kind of says, if they've harmed the children, we will have revenge, and that kind of happens on the ship going to the north, rather than in the book it's actually on the land, which is different. So that's how events are twisted in the book. So if you're writing a review on the book, read the book, don't watch the film, because the film's slightly different. The events are slightly different in the film than they are in the book. So yeah, best thing to read this book, even though the first part is agonisingly boring. And I kind of felt when I got to the second part and started talking about witches and ice bears and things, that I was really disappointed that I'm not going to read the rest of it. I can read the rest of it if I wanted to, but I don't need to anymore. And it's like really sad, because I kind of thought, well, watching the film, it's got really, really good potential, this book. It's really good potential, really good ideas. It's got really good story. But just that first half was really boring and had no adventure, no thing that would hook you into the book at all. That kind of ruined the book for me, because I was so agonisingly trying to get past this first part. And in the second part, the first chapter has got loads of action in it. We're moving on to the second chapter of the second half. I think it's talking about ice bears and armour, and that's where that kind of thing comes in. The snow bear, whatever it is. And then it's kind of more interesting to have seen that. But apparently at the end of this book, I think her friend dies, which isn't in the film. Obviously because it's a bit too sad for children, because it was a PG. Probably for the whole reason that the ice bear kind of rips the other ice bear's jaw off. I thought that was a bit gory, and also it has dark themes in it, of course, because it's called Dark Materials, the Dark Materials trilogy. Okay, so that's Toby talking about a book review of the Northern Lights.